you know that one of them is the easy one, the chill one, and the other one is like a little bit more, I need to do this and be on the move. But they will switch on you. So our son is actually, he's our chill kid. He, you hold him, you can cuddle him, like he'll relax. And our daughter is definitely the adventurous one, doesn't want to be held down, doesn't like, needs to be on the move constantly. And we saw that from the beginning. But as they've been growing, there are days that they flip flop, and like my daughter wants just for me to hold her or just for my husband to hold her, and she just is in like that cuddly mood. And then Jackson is all over the place, like he wants you to hold him, but he doesn't actually want you to hold him. He's whining or crying or whatever because he wants to be on the move, and he gets frustrated because he's not as mobile as Harper is, and she's like standing up and crawling almost really, really well on her own, and he's kind of like, I'm just gonna roll around on the floor and get to the places I need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's adorable. My
Yeah.
son was a little bit slower at the beginning, and now he's like, so my son's almost 14 months. He's
Mhm.
like, yes, on the move. So like it's hard. And if you do need that moment, it's just going to be harder as they start moving.
Yes.
So you did go back to work?
I did go back to work. So I was very fortunate, and I know that we are, that I was actually able to stay home until May. So I had saved money so that I could cover bills and expenses while out on maternity leave. And then, of course, my job paid for however much time I had saved up for my sick days and my personal days as a teacher. And then once those ran out, my savings kicked in. And then once that ran out, my parents supported um, me financially in being able to continue paying bills and like my half of things so that I could stay out a little bit longer. So I went back for a month. I went back May 16th and then school it out on June 22nd. So I was able to go back, and I was super nervous. But I think it was exactly what I needed because I needed to get a break from the kids, but didn't want to verbalize it. Um, and I was feeling really guilty about that. But with therapy, with the right medication, I realized, I need to be somebody other than being a parent right now. And going to back to work was actually the best thing I could have done for me and for the kids. Because I felt like it made me a little bit more present. When I was at work from 7 o'clock till 3:15, like I was a teacher, I was Miss Piedmont. I did what I had to do. I left at contractual time, came home, and then I was mom. I was on duty, whatever it had to be done, feedings, diaper changes, bath, and then bedtime. And I did that. And I was so thankful to get that month of being at work, because now being off for the summer, um, the days, as hard as they can be sometimes, I realize that my summer days are coming to an end with them. And as excited as I am to go back to work, mentally, I know I just need it, and I need that break from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm cherishing all of the little moments that I'm getting to spend with them, but also looking forward to the day that I can just leave them at home with
Hmm.
my mother-in-law and have her watch them and know that they'll be safe, but I'm also going to be an adult again and not
Yeah.
just mom.
Oh yeah, that's important. And that's something that I hear from a lot of people is they do like need that time away and then it does give you that structure. It's all mental. So when did you notice or like feel like you were struggling? Like we kind of touched on before we started recording the appointments that you have and how it's a bunch of appointments and then you're kind of left to fend for yourself, especially as like the mom. So Do you feel like you would have been better off had you touched base with people before the 6 weeks, or did you go back before that, like, to your doctor? Like, what was the, situation there?
So I had to have a C-section, which looking back now also played a huge role into like my mental state. But
Yeah.
so I had to have a scar. I had to have my scar checked out to make sure that it was healing properly. So I actually did that before my 6 week appointment. When my scar was checked out, I did touch base with the doctor and just ask her, I'm starting to feel a certain way. Like, is this normal for me right now? I said, I know the twins were just taken out a couple of weeks ago. I'm still adjusting to mom life. I'm still adjusting to the fact that it's no longer John and I and our pets. Like, it's John and I, our pets, and two babies that cry and need to eat almost every 2.5 to 3 hours. Um, so it's a lot to get used to. I said, but I am starting to feel a little bit more overwhelmed where I can't always like come back to a state and be okay. And I was told very nicely, like that is typical. You, she said, you said it correctly, like you're getting used to mom life and your new normal. So she said we do call that baby blues, but just keep an eye on it. If you think that it's starting to get a little bit more than normal, which for me I was like, I don't know what's normal, but okay. um she said, you have your 6 week appointment in a couple of weeks. I'll touch base with you again, see what's going on, and then we'll go from there. And I said, okay. So we, like I said earlier, my mom was here and she was working from our house. So she really did try her best to let me take those breaks when John would come home from work. Like the two of them would feed the baby so I could go do something else. And for me, that was usually like making dinner for all three of us. And of course, my mom would step in and be like, you don't need to do that. But for me, it was something other than taking care of a child. So I happily would do it because I was using my hands and my head
Mhm,
in a different way.
mhm.
Um, when I did go back in for my checkup, it was actually more closer to 8 weeks because of my C-section. I brought it up again. I don't think what I'm experiencing is baby blues. It could be. I don't know. I said, but can I have resources in case this starts to get more? Um, and my doctor was very good about it. She said, you can reach out to St. Joe's has an excellent program that they use for postpartum moms. You can also reach out to this therapist through Upstate. And she really does a great job in supporting postpartum moms as well. You can do like one on one with her, you could do groups. So I was given the resources, and then it was kind of left to me to make the decision that I needed help. I think the only thing that the issue with that was now you're relying on me, or now I'm relying on myself to call and make those appointments, to realize that I am way over my head and advocate for myself that I need more help. And I definitely struggled with that because I didn't want to admit that I was overwhelmed and it was too much. And, being a mom, I was trying to be strong and like unfortunately do it all, and one person can't do it all. um so I went back to the doctor a couple weeks later and I said the same thing. I said, I want you to be aware that I don't think I'm okay. So we had a little bit of a chat about why I was saying that and why I was bringing it up. And then again, she was very nice about it, and she just said, I think it's time for you to reach out to somebody. What you're saying it's not concerning, but if you don't reach out, it's going to get to a point that I am going to be more concerned for you. So I said, okay. I dragged it out still. And then John actually had brought it up to me, like, you do realize you're a lot angrier than you were before, and like, I don't think you're handling it very well. And I said, I'm not. And it was it was like a screaming match on my end of, I'm not okay. This is a lot. And to be honest, like, I was having feelings of, running away and not coming back and starting a new life. And I was totally fine with those thoughts because I knew my kids would be fine with their dad and with the support system that we have. Um, and when those thoughts popped up, I realized, like, John is right. I need something more than just the two people in my house helping me.
Mhm.
So I did take the leap and I called to see somebody. And I thought, the therapy was helping me because I was able to talk to a third party who had absolutely no idea of what was going on in my home. And it was starting to help me, but then what really triggered it and what set everything in motion of me going on medication was that I was starting to formulate a plan to get away. And that was, I was honest with my therapist saying that I'm not, like, formulating the plan doesn't scare me. Like, we had a wedding. If I go to the wedding, with John and then just stay at my parents' house and don't come back with John, like, I'm 100% okay with that. Like, the guilt had went away of, like, not being with my kids and him taking care of them by himself. And I think that was the scariest thing, that I was so okay with that feeling. And I was so okay with that thought that even my therapist says, you need to call your doctor right now. You need to be seen as soon as possible. And I'm going to also get in contact with them and we're going to get you the help you need, because daydreaming about going away is one thing. But when you start to formulate a plan to actually put all of those thoughts into motion, that's more. And that is something that, women are experiencing, and we need to get you the help that you need, because this is not normal. This wanting to not be around your children and being 100% okay with that.
Mhm.
So, that was like a Friday. I was seen immediately. Monday morning, I was started off on some medication and also still seeing a therapist once a week. Um, and luckily, like, with the medicine, it took me a while to get used to it. My dosage was increased because I was able to handle it a little bit better, but I was still having those thoughts. So my dosage was increased. And I think, looking back on it, like, I really wish I would have been strong enough for myself and advocated for myself a little bit sooner. Um, but I did get the help I need. So I think that's the most important thing that has come out of it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's very hard to share and be that honest. And it's so much more common, and that's why I kind of was making faces at the beginning there, because it is so common and it gets to that point so often that I wish the doctors were more proactive. I think it's never going to be a bad thing to quote unquote overreact to
Mhm.
that type of thing. And I had never, I mean, I shouldn't say I've heard a lot of different variations of the leaving. Obviously, there's the suicidal ideation that comes with a lot of people. There's the running away. There's also like other things that are concerning have to do with like when it interrupts your daily life. So, anxiety. I was struggling with anxiety. And my therapist was like, if you're not able to go down the stairs because you're afraid you're going to drop your baby, like that is the type of anxiety. So I felt, and I think I mentioned this before, I went on medication and started seeing a therapist again for like the third time, fourth, no, probably like the sixth time in my life, when I was pregnant. to kind of get ahead of it. So that was definitely invaluable. I mean,